Arachin Daf Lamed. We learned yesterday that if somebody sells a slave outside of Eretz Yisrael, we give him a knas, the sale is not valid, and the buyer loses his money. And the question is, why does the buyer lose money and not the seller? They're both partners in the crime. The Gemara gives a mashal, it's like a mouse who steals food and uses a hole to hide. Do we punish the hole or should we punish the mouse? Over here, the hole is the buyer. And without the mouse, the hole doesn't commit a crime. Says the Gemara, well, we punish the person that has possession of the slave. And since the buyer has the slave in possession, that's why we take away his money and we give the slave back to the seller. Says the Mishnah, when it comes to redeeming Esdei Achuzah, we go by the lowest price, the lowest purchase price. So that is, if you have, let's say, Ruvain sold his Esdei Achuzah, a field that he got from his forefathers, inheritance from Chalukas Aretz. He sells it to Shimon for 200. Shimon turns around and sells it at a loss for 100. So we can use the 100 as our basis for the redemption, for the pidyon. Rebbe says, I learned it from the pasuk, Me'ish. It goes by the sale. The lowest purchase price, the lowest sale price. Rebbe Dustai says, no, I learned it from Ha'idaf, from the change. And that is either by the original purchase price or by the value today. What the value is today, that's what we base our pidyon on. What's the difference, la halacha? The Gemara brings one example. That is, if there was a purchase price initially of 200, Reuven sold it to Shimon for 200. Then Shimon turned around and sold it for 100. And then the price shot back up to 200. So you have 200, 100, and 200. According to Rebbe, that you could always take the lowest purchase price. It doesn't matter if it's the first or second. So since we have a purchase price of 100, we can use that as the lowest price for the pidyon. But according to Rebbe Dustai, it goes either by the first purchase price or what it's worth today. And today it's worth 200 and it was sold for 200 initially. We don't care about the middle purchase price. And therefore, the basis is 200. Taisus points out that we could also say that there was one sale. Reuven sold it to Shimon for 200, and when it was in Shimon's hands, it went down to 100. According to Rebbe, we only go by a purchase price, so the purchase price is 200. According to Rebbe Dustai, we go by today's value, and today's value is 100, so we can base it on the 100. How can we always go by the lowest price? Why is it that by Esdei Achuzah, we go by the low price? Maybe we should go by the higher price. The Gemara says we learn now from Eved Ivri. When an Eved Ivri wants to redeem himself, he bases it either on his own purchase price, and if today's value is lower than the purchase price, then we base it on the lower value. The Gemara says, very interesting, Abai once stood in the middle of the marketplace in Tveria and he announced, I'm like Ben Azai. The Gemara B'chayr says that Ben Azai said, all Chachamim and Klal Yisrael are like the peel of a garlic in my eyes. So Abai said also, he's boasting sort of, he says, ask me anything anywhere. So somebody comes over and says, well, then tell me what's the pshat? Why Eved Ivri? Why could we go by the lowest price? So he says, because it says in the pasuk, you always have to do good for your Eved Ivri, and as we know, that if a person that buys Eved Ivri, a Jewish slave, it's as if you bought a master for yourself, because if you have good wine, you have to let him drink your good wine. If you have a good bed, he also has to have a good bed. So Taisus points out, why is he your master? Then he's your equal. You both drink the same wine, you both have the same bed. Says Taisus, no. Because if you only have one pillow, the slave gets that one pillow. So in fact, he's your master. But the Gemara asks a question. At the end of the day, why does a person become an Eved Ivri? Because he brought it upon himself, because he didn't do tshuva. And it's very interesting. There's a Perek Chafei in Chumash Vayikra. Pasuk after pasuk, the Gemara Darshans is just step after step that happens if you don't do tshuva. It starts off saying that a person was dealing with Perish Shmita, and he didn't do tshuva. He's going to end up selling his belongings, his movable objects, his metaltal. And the Gemara uses a lashon, loy hirgish, if he didn't do tshuva. And now, if he still didn't do tshuva, the Gemara uses a different lashon, loy bas, loy adai. He's going to sell his fields. Why does the Gemara change the lashon? Says the Gemara, because at a point when a person repeats a certain avera over and over, he simply thinks to himself that it's mutter. And it's so hard to do tshuva when you think an avera is mutter. Says the Gemara, if you don't do tshuva when you sell your own field, you're going to come to sell your own house. And if you don't do tshuva when you sell your own house, you're going to come to borrow money with interest. And if you don't do tshuva then, you'll come to sell your own daughter. even though the daughter is not in Perek Chafei, says the Gemara, because sometimes people sell their daughter before they borrow with interest, because a daughter, a person knows he has a way out of it. Eventually, she's going to come back to him when she becomes a naira. Every year, the giroin, the amount he has to pay to get her out, is less. But when it comes to borrowing with interest, it just grows and grows, and it's harder for him, and therefore he will sell his daughter first. Now, if a person doesn't do tshuva, then he'll come to sell himself. First, he'll sell himself to a Jew, then he'll sell himself to a goy, to a ger toishav, ger tzedek. Finally, the Gemara says he'll sell himself, and he'll actually be a shamish fa'avid zara rachman islam. The point is that he brought it all upon himself. So why should we be nice to him? Says the Gemara, because we have a concept. When a person falls, you don't throw a stone on him. We have to have rachmanis on him. Says the Gemara, yeah, you can have rachmanis on him, and you can let somebody redeem him, he can redeem himself. But why at a lower price? Says the Gemara that Rav Nachman darshan the pasuk so beautifully, it was like that it came from Sinai, Har Sinai. What did he darshan? It says in the pasuk, Im Rabbois Bashanim. It should say Im Rabbois Shanim. Bashanim, the base is extra. So he darshans Im Rabbois. If the price, if his value went up, so you don't redeem a person who sold himself to a guy, you don't redeem him by his current value, rather you redeem him by the lower purchase price. But in Ma'at Bashanim, again, there's extra base. If his price went down and today's value is lower, then we ignore the purchase price and we base his redemption on today's value. Says the Mishnah that if a person sells and he wants to redeem it, he cannot borrow money in order to redeem it, because it says v'hisiga yadai, and he can't go and sell one of his fields, even if his field is very far away, or he has a really bad field. He can't sell that field in order to raise money to redeem his field. Not only that, he cannot redeem a partial part of the field. He can't redeem partially, he has to do a complete redemption. The machlok is whether the same halacha applies to Hegdish. According to Chachamim, it does, and according to Rav Shimon, Hegdish is different. You could redeem half, you could borrow or sell things in order to raise money for the redemption of Hegdish, because if you don't, he'll lose it completely by Hegdish. Have a wonderful day.